Hey guys, Thomas Cecily Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to review M. Night Shyamalan's movie Split featuring James McAvoy. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So, after after M. Night's previous movie, which I didn't find particularly good, that being The Visit, I decided, I'll give this movie a shot. Some directors, I think, have the capability to redeem themselves, and I feel like this movie is going to help M. Night Shyamalan start to move back in the right direction, even though there are some parts of this film included that are just a bit still wacky, still a bit heavier on the exposition, and still has those character moments that are just a bit too odd, that they just don't seem like they fit. But other than that, I would say this movie is pretty interesting. I will say that this will be a spoiler review toward the end of it, and I will bring that back as soon as I mention what the spoiler is. Anyways, the movie follows three young teenage girls who get kidnapped by Kevin, and he brings them to this little, like, inside tunnel, I guess. They are put inside a small room, and he says that he's gonna come back after messing with one of them and them being in this situation. Now, after he does return, they see that he does return with a different persona or personality, and they try to figure out, instead of immediately attempting to escape, they try to figure out what is going on based on the main character, who tells them to kind of stay put and not try to fight him off. Like, one of the earlier suggestions was, hey, we should team up on this guy, and I was thinking, yeah, that would probably be a really good idea, and then they don't even carry it out because of, again, the main character. And there are a few dumb decisions here, which, isn't surprising. I don't technically know if this falls under the horror category per se. Again, with those, like, silly elements and whatnot. Anyways, I did personally think that the flashback stuff with the main character, and dealing with what she went through, was handled okay. I mean, up to a certain point, it was okay-ish, I would say. And it does deal with her uncle, like, raping her and stuff like that. And, like, how that deals with the ending does, like, it connects, but I can see why maybe some people may not find that connection as strong or something, especially with what this movie turns out to be like. Anyways, this guy ends up separating the three girls, and two of them don't really add up too much, but he does have someone who helps him out with all the stuff. The sort of, like, doctor, who she says that she thinks that this whole persona thing is like this greater gift or something, and she keeps trying to persuade that throughout the movie, and she's even presenting that further, and that's sort of her main role. She gets closer and closer, and our characters are, for whatever reason, really slowly trying to eventually get a way out, like, days later, which, again, that whole sort of stupid decision thing comes back into play. Like, again, not wanting to do that earlier seems a bit odd. Anyways, we learn about, through him and sort of her, I guess, sort of playing off of each other, and even the main character a little bit, that there is a 24th personality, as it says right on the cover, which is simply referred to as the Beast, which is when you see it in the promo when you see him go down, and then you see him open the bars. That's in the trailer, so I don't think that's much of a spoiler. Um, and he's able to climb and do all this really advanced stuff. And we see that he only stopped himself when he saw that she was conflicted with damage. He referred to her as like pure because she was tortured, which I find a bit odd. But anyways, he lets her go, and then she gets found by someone else, and she gets away with it. And then that whole scene plays out, and there's this like really unfinished scene, or it feels a little bit unfinished, where she's like at the cop car, and then the police officer is like, "Hey, you're creepy." Well, she didn't say creepy, but we know by this point the creepy uncle wants to take you back or whatever, and then she just stays in the police car, and then it just sort of cuts away. And then, spoiler alert, right at this moment, so if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, I would, if you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to click out right now. So that is my spoiler warning. So the movie ends with these random individuals in the coffee shop, and then they refer to something happening 15 years ago, and they're trying to figure out a name, and then it cuts, or I should say it slides to the right, and you see Bruce Willis as a character that we have seen in a previous movie appear here, and this movie's title was Unbreakable, and we see him referred to Samuel L. Jackson's character, Mr. Glass, as well, and then the movie ends with that, just him sort of revealing this piece of information. So I'll say the acting was okay. And again, some of the moments did feel still a bit awkward. And I don't mean like awkward in a creepy way, but some of them just felt out of place sometimes. And, I'm kind of getting used to it at this point, to be a little bit honest. So I kind of expected to see that one scene that's just like, really? But, that's sort of what Shyamalan does at this point. So if you've seen previous of his films, you should expect to see that here, and I think that result will at least lesser the extent of it a little bit. But anyway, I felt that this movie, again, was a bit of a halfway mark movie for me. A step in the right direction, but still kind of meh. And, excuse me. I should point out that the Unbreakable movie, at least for me, after watching it again pretty recently, or at least watching bits of that movie again, I will admit I saw a bit more of his moments in that movie, and it did lower the experience of that movie a little bit, but I still think that's one of his better films overall. So whether this means an Unbreakable 2 or something, I'm not sure. But what I will say is, I have a theory about this movie in particular, if they are going to bring the main character from this movie back, and it's a big if, but if they do, I have an interesting theory that the girl is also going to have powers. I feel that coming, and I'm going to say, based off of the dialogue in this movie, I'm going to predict that she has the capability to sort of like, it'll be like something like reading minds, or being able to know people before knowing them. Something along those lines. So there's that. But I will give this movie its grade. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Middle of the road. I think my statements before were going to lead toward that. That probably shouldn't surprise anyone who ever watches this. But if you did like this review, and if you liked my theory about what could possibly be coming next, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye!